Your paycheck is not the problem. You are being robbed blind by a devastating hidden tax on everything you currently own. If you want to know why someone making $50,000 has more absolute security than a $100,000 executive, listen closely. Right now, millions of hard-working people are walking straight into a financial slaughterhouse, and they are completely blind to it. We are staring down the barrel of a macroeconomic reset that is poised to wipe out a massive chunk of the middle class. You can feel it in the air, can't you? Sticky inflation is quietly eating your purchasing power alive, while a new wave of corporate restructuring is putting stable, middle management jobs directly on the chopping block. Welcome to MyWiseWallet, where we decode the exact strategies you need to survive and build real wealth in this chaos. If you are serious about protecting your family and want to support this channel so we can keep bringing you these unvarnished truths, please hit that subscribe button right now. Here is the secret that history has taught us from the ashes of 1929 and the crash of 2008. Wealth is never actually destroyed during these terrifying economic moments. It is simply transferred. It is transferred aggressively from the emotional to the logical, and from the over-leveraged to the highly liquid. To understand exactly how this wealth transfer works, I want you to visualize two identical apartments. They are in the exact same city, in the exact same neighborhood, with the exact same rent. Walk inside the first apartment, which belongs to someone earning $95,000 a year. You will immediately see a massive 75-inch television mounted on the wall and a leather sectional that cost at least $4,000. The kitchen is stuffed with high-end appliances still sitting in their original boxes, and the closets are overflowing with clothes that still have the retail tags attached. Every square inch of the spare bedroom has been converted into a storage unit for things they have not touched in years. But here is the dark reality hiding behind that front door. This person checks their banking app with a knot of pure anxiety in their stomach. When the corporate HR department whispers about layoffs, they break into a cold sweat because they are exactly 2 missed paychecks away from total financial ruin. Now walk across the hall into the second apartment, which belongs to someone earning just $52,000 a year. The very first thing you notice inside is the breathing room. You see a modest couch, a reasonably sized television, and a kitchen holding only the exact tools they use on a daily basis. When this person checks their bank account, they feel a deep, quiet confidence. They are sitting on 18 months of living expenses saved in cash. What I call pure, dry powder. And they automatically invest 20% of every single paycheck. They live in the same neighborhood and face the same economy. Yet, the person earning almost half the income possesses 10 times the financial security. This is not a story about how much money you make from your 9-to-5. It is a story about a massive structural capital allocation problem. It is about the hidden, destructive relationship between physical stuff and liquid wealth that most people will go to their graves never understanding. To stop living on the edge of that financial cliff, we have to fundamentally rewire how we look at every single object we bring into our lives. I need you to understand a concept that corporate retail culture desperately wants to keep hidden from you. Everything you own is going to cost you money twice. The number you see on the receipt at the checkout counter is just the entry fee to a lifelong subscription of liabilities. The real damage comes from what I call the hidden tax, and over a long enough timeline, this tax will absolutely destroy your investment portfolio. Let us break down the brutal math of this hidden tax, starting with the physical real estate you are paying for just to store your possessions. Think about that heavy-duty treadmill sitting in your spare room. In most decent suburban environments right now, you are paying roughly $30 to $50 per square foot annually in rent, mortgage interest, and property taxes. That treadmill requires at least 20 square feet of clearance. That means you are bleeding $600 to $1,000 every single year in implicit rent just to house a machine that probably functions as a very expensive clothes hanger most of the week. Then, you have the maintenance tax on depreciating assets. If you buy a $30,000 boat and park it in your driveway, the industry standard dictates it will cost you about 10% of its value annually just to keep it functioning. That is $3,000 a year evaporating into winterization, insurance premiums, and inevitable mechanical repairs, even if that boat never touches the water. But the most insidious part of this tax does not even show up on a bank statement. It quietly drains your mental bandwidth. Clinical researchers have proven that visual clutter actively spikes your cortisol levels and destroys your brain's ability to maintain deep focus. When your mind is constantly exhausted from organizing, cleaning, and worrying about your physical environment, you literally lack the cognitive energy required to upskill in your career or analyze the next major investment opportunity. Finally, we reach the ultimate wealth killer. Opportunity cost. That $15,000 luxury home gym setup you bought is not just a $15,000 expense. If you had deployed that exact same capital into a broad market index fund, compounding at historical averages, you gave up $50,000 or more over the next 15 years. You did not just buy a home gym, you actively financed it by sacrificing your own future financial freedom. If we are going to survive the economic reset that is coming, we have to radically restructure how we consume. To stop bleeding capital and build an absolute fortress around your family, I am going to give you the exact algorithms to completely restructure how you acquire and manage the things in your life. We need to start by plugging the massive cash leaks happening right under your nose. And that begins with prioritizing cold, hard math over temporary emotion. I want you to stop looking at the sticker price of an item because that number is actively lying to you. Instead, you must calculate the exact cost per use before you ever deploy a single dollar of your capital. If you buy a cheap, poorly made $200 jacket that you only wear twice before it gets shoved to the back of your closet, that garment just cost you $100 every single time you put it on. But if you invest in a high-quality $400 jacket that you wear 200 times over 3 brutal winters, your cost drops to just $2 per wear. In any logical financial sense, the expensive jacket is vastly cheaper, and it is a far superior allocation of your resources. When you run this simple division algorithm in your head, it instantly neutralizes the dopamine rush of impulse buying. You suddenly realize that the specialized $300 kitchen gadget you might drag out twice a year for the holidays is going to cost you $150 per use. That is an obscenely inefficient way to manage the money you sacrificed hours of your life to earn. Meanwhile, a solid $30 multi-purpose hand tool that you grab out of the garage every weekend costs you less than 60 cents a use over a single year. The math cuts straight through the retail marketing hype, ignoring the emotional pull to reveal what actually makes financial sense. But doing the math is only half the battle. You also have to engineer your environment, because human behavior will always follow the path of least resistance. If spending your money is completely frictionless and saving it requires active, grueling discipline, you are going to end up broke. Do not trust your own willpower. After a stressful day dealing with corporate politics and middle management headaches, your willpower is completely depleted by 8 o'clock at night. That is exactly when the highly targeted social media algorithms hit you with the perfect advertisement, knowing you are too tired to resist. You have to create severe, intentional friction for your spending habits. Go into your web browser right now and delete every single stored credit card number. Force yourself to physically get off the couch, locate your wallet, and manually punch in those 16 digits for every single online transaction. Implement a strict, mandatory 24-hour waiting period for any purchase that is not strictly essential to keeping the lights on or feeding your family. On the flip side, you must create absolute automated ease for your savings. Set up automatic transfers to your investment accounts the exact morning your paycheck hits your bank. Treat your investments like a non-negotiable fixed expense, identical to your mortgage. If you wait to see what is left over at the end of the month, the consumer system is perfectly designed to ensure there is absolutely nothing left. Now we have to talk about the absolute poison of upgrade culture, which is quietly destroying the middle class as we speak. I see brilliant, high-earning professionals walking around in their 40s with zero net worth because they constantly upgrade perfectly functional items simply out of boredom. Their current smartphone operates flawlessly, but a tech company just announced a slightly faster chip and a new camera layout, so they immediately finance the new one. Their vehicle runs perfectly fine, but the new model year has a redesigned dashboard and a bigger screen, so they roll negative equity into a brand new loan. The corporate machine wants you to feel like these upgrades are necessary improvements to your lifestyle, keeping you on par with your peers. In reality, they are acts of wealth destruction disguised as progress. You need to adopt a ruthless anti-upgrade policy right now. Never replace an asset that still reliably performs its core function. The average consumer replaces their smartphone every 2 years while the old device is still perfectly capable of making calls, sending emails, and navigating traffic. Over a 30-year working career, when you factor in the opportunity cost of what that money could have done compounding in the market, This one single behavioral pattern costs you between $30,000 and $50,000. When you apply that same impatience to cars, televisions, and living room furniture, the lifetime capital waste easily exceeds $250,000. Boredom is not a mechanical failure. The desire for novelty is never a valid reason to drain your liquidity. Once you stop the bleeding from new purchases, we need to rigorously audit your current liability ecosystem. I want you to walk through your house this weekend and look at every single object occupying your square footage. Ask yourself one brutally honest question. If this item vanished into thin air today, would I actually spend my hard-earned capital to buy it again? Would you really repurchase that bread maker collecting dust on the top shelf? Would you go back to the store and buy that exact same rack of clothes you have not worn since 2 years ago? For a shocking majority of the things you own, the honest answer is absolutely not. Those items are only in your life right now because of pure inertia, not intention. They are negative value assets draining your energy, and every hour you spend dusting around them or organizing them is an hour stolen from building real wealth. You must ruthlessly liquidate the items that fail this replacement test to free up your physical and mental bandwidth. Sell what still has value to build up your cash reserves, donate the rest, and feel the psychological weight lift off your shoulders. To make sure this clutter never creeps back in, you have to start counting your inventory. I know it sounds obsessive, but human beings are notoriously terrible at subjectively estimating how much they actually consume. Pick a category like your closet and count the exact number of shirts you own. Most people guess they have about 20, and the physical count usually reveals over 60. Once the raw data proves to you that you already own 60 shirts, the urge to buy the 61st suddenly feels ridiculous. Awareness is the ultimate defense against lifestyle creep. Do not fall into the trap of doing one massive, exhausting purge every January, only to slowly accumulate junk for the next 11 months. You need a system of cyclical defense, treating your household inventory exactly like a corporate balance sheet. Implement small, regular audits of your environment by reviewing what comes into your house weekly and assessing one specific room monthly. Removing just 3 redundant items a week is a sustainable, low-friction habit that catches accumulation before it compounds into a nightmare. It keeps you highly aware of exactly which emotional states, like work stress or deep-seated insecurity, are triggering your urge to buy things you do not need. Moving forward, anytime you do consider a major acquisition, you have to understand the lifestyle multiplier effect. Never evaluate a purchase in total isolation, because every major possession you buy demands an entire ecosystem of supporting purchases. If you buy a boat, you do not just pay the sticker price for the boat. You now need a specialized trailer, a heavy-duty truck with enough towing capacity, marine insurance, docking fees, and a garage full of maintenance supplies. One singular emotional purchase just triggered a cascade of 7 additional financial liabilities. Before you deploy a massive chunk of capital, you must map out this entire macro cost. What looks like a reasonable $5,000 reward for your hard work is usually a $12,000 financial anchor when you account for the necessary supporting infrastructure. Finally, you have to stop financing the illusion of who you want to be. The modern consumer is trained to buy all the expensive gear for a new hobby before they even know if they actually like doing it. We get excited about the concept of camping or woodworking, and the retail industry immediately monetizes that enthusiasm. Test your assumptions by renting or borrowing the equipment before you ever commit your own cash. Rent the kayak for your first 5 trips to stress test whether your enthusiasm is genuine or just a passing phase. It is vastly cheaper to discover you hate the reality of a hobby while returning a rented piece of equipment than it is while staring at thousands of dollars of gear rotting in your garage. Keep your capital liquid, protect your dry powder at all costs, and rent the experience until the data proves you actually need to own it. Once you stop bleeding capital on things you do not even need to own, we must confront the ultimate psychological trap that slaughters high-income earners every single day. They absolutely refuse to define what enough looks like before their income scales. This is why I see professionals making $200,000 a year who are just as terrified of layoffs as someone making $50,000. They are running a brutal race with no finish line. As their salary increases, they subconsciously upgrade their entire lifestyle to match the new cash flow. To feel any sense of progress, they now require another massive promotion just to survive their own mandatory burn rate. You break this catastrophic cycle by defining your baseline of enough right now using cold, hard numbers. Decide in advance exactly what size home genuinely meets your needs and determine the exact annual cost of a secure life. Once you lock in that mathematical target, you never move the goalposts. When your income inevitably grows beyond that baseline, every single additional dollar is aggressively funneled straight into the gap. You take that margin and stockpile your dry powder, buying the one thing that actually matters. Which brings us to how true strategists redefine success. Society trains you to measure wealth by visual accumulation, judging your worth by the zip code or the car you drive. You must completely reject that narrative and start measuring your wealth entirely by optionality. Optionality is the pure volume of choices available to you when the macroeconomy turns hostile. Can you walk into your boss's office tomorrow and resign from a toxic job without panicking? If your department is eliminated next week, can you survive a 6-month layoff period without sweating? These options represent real, tangible wealth, and they are only available to individuals who prioritize liquid resources over physical possessions. The equity trapped in a massive house you barely use cannot fund a career transition. Every time you swipe your card for a non-essential consumer good, you are not just trading currency for an object. You are directly trading away your right to say no. You are literally trading away your future freedom. Once you stop trading away your freedom for consumer goods, you unlock a psychological superpower that the retail industry hopes you never discover. There is a profound, bidirectional relationship between your physical possessions and your money that nobody ever talks about. Yes, deliberately owning less stuff allows you to accumulate more capital, but the real magic happens when having a massive pile of liquid cash actually makes owning less stuff feel incredibly natural. The harsh truth is that most people engage in impulse spending to fill a deep emotional void created by their own underlying financial insecurity. They feel completely out of control in this chaotic macroeconomy, so they seek a micro hit of dopamine by swiping their credit card for a luxury good. They are literally buying a temporary feeling of status to mask a terrifying reality of vulnerability. But when your balance sheet is an absolute fortress, and you know you have the dry powder to easily survive a 3-year recession, that psychological urge to flex completely evaporates. You no longer need a designer logo on your chest or a luxury car in your driveway to broadcast your success to strangers. Your compounding brokerage account tells you the only story that actually matters. This creates the ultimate virtuous cycle, where having absolute security extinguishes the emotional drive to spend, which in turn accelerates your savings rate to levels you never thought possible. The opposite is the vicious cycle that keeps high-earning professionals working until they are 70, constantly stress spending for temporary emotional relief until the mathematical system inevitably breaks. It is time to execute your escape plan from that trap, and here is exactly what you are going to do to prepare for the coming economic shift. This week, you are going to execute the replacement test and permanently remove 10 items from your home that you would never spend your capital to buy again. This month, you are going to institute a ruthless 24-hour friction rule for every single non-essential transaction. And you will watch 80% of your impulsive desires simply vanish overnight. This year, you are going to sit down at your kitchen table, define exactly what your mathematical baseline of enough looks like, and write that number down as your new financial constitution. Think back to those 2 identical apartments we discussed at the very beginning of this journey. The person in the second apartment, earning $52,000 but holding 18 months of dry powder, did not get there by sheer luck. They got there through exceptional clarity and by refusing to accept the corporate lie that accumulating more liabilities equals a better life. Both of those financial realities are sitting on the table for you right now, regardless of what your current W-2 says. The choice you have to make today is devastatingly simple. You can choose to own your assets, or you can sit back and let your liabilities own you. Build your gap, aggressively accumulate your dry powder, and let compound interest do the heavy lifting for the rest of your life. The mathematical reality we face heading into 2026 is uncompromising, but it is not something to fear if you are positioned correctly. The profound lesson here is that every dollar you trap in a depreciating physical asset is a dollar directly stolen from your future freedom. The corporate machine has successfully convinced the middle class that accumulating liabilities is the ultimate proof of success, effectively turning millions of high earners into well-dressed indentured servants. But you now possess the strategic blueprint to exit that broken system. By ruthlessly eliminating the hidden taxes in your life, stopping the endless and exhausting cycle of consumer upgrades, and permanently defining your mathematical baseline of enough, you flip the script. You stop being a targeted consumer and you become a strategic capital allocator. The practical application for your life starts right now today. Do not wait for the macroeconomic data to get worse before you decide to react. Start aggressively widening your gap immediately. Liquidate the dead weight in your physical environment, turn those negative value liabilities into pure dry powder, and purchase the most valuable asset on earth. Optionality. True wealth is not a driveway full of depreciating luxury cars. It is the undeniable power to look at any employer, any toxic situation, or any sudden economic downturn and simply say no because your balance sheet is completely bulletproof. I want to hear from you on this. Take a quick look around the room you are sitting in right now. What is one specific item you currently own that you would absolutely not buy again if you were handed the cash today? Drop your answer in the comments below so we can see exactly what kind of liabilities are quietly draining the community's wealth, and let's learn from each other's past capital allocation mistakes. If this video shifted your perspective and you are ready to stop playing by the losing rules of the middle class, please hit that subscribe button. Your support directly drives MyWiseWallet and gives us the momentum to keep delivering these unvarnished financial truths. Stay liquid, stay disciplined, and I will see you in the next one.